All right. It looks like we are live
Mhm.
now. Okay, so we are a few minutes late. We were talking.
It happens.
It just happened. So we are back with another episode of Films and Fandoms.
Finally.
Yes. Tonight's episode, we're going to be talking, or I'm joined by Alex. We're going to be talking Leverage, Season 2, Episode 10, The Runway Job.
This is gonna
And
be fun.
it is going to be funny. So before we get this episode started, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Fair Pines. You can listen to Fair Pines at Bigfoot Country 102.1 WIFT at lovemybigfoot.com or the Love My Bigfoot app from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And thank you once again, Perry, for purchasing the StreamYard so we can keep doing this. I'd also like to thank our parent company, NAFCO.org. You should check them out. We got some fun stuff coming up. And if you want to support the podcast, fuck, I didn't get the link set up. I didn't copy the link. God damn it. If you want to support the podcast, you can go on our Ko-Fi, which is at Films and Fandoms. And
Literally, this is like shenanigan central right now.
is, yep, if you want to support the podcast, you can. Just buy a coffee. And we'd be really appreciative. Because it takes a lot to run this podcast. And we're trying to be content creators. So yeah, it would be nice to get a little rewarded, and it would be nice to pay back Perry for purchasing the StreamYard account. So without further ado, let's get started on this episode. So again, we're talking Leverage Season 2, Episode 10, The Runway Job. And every time I talk about this episode, I keep wanting to call it the Rundown Job because that is a Season 5 episode. Different episode. But I keep wanting to call it the Rundown Job instead of the Runway Job.
That's
So this episode, the Leverage team, bit of a summary. The Leverage team goes undercover in the world of fashion to take down a sweatshop owner and her husband, and they teach Tara how they do things. So the director for this episode is Mark Roskin, a good buddy, good pal. And the writer for this episode is Albert Kim. And if you heard that name before, that is because they reference him as one of the safe companies, Boylan and Kim. So I guess right into it. So we opened this episode actually in a sweatshop, where we see a bunch of Chinese women of varying ages. They don't look good. You can tell they're exhausted. And one woman, she's taken like vitamin pills, and then she ends up passing out, and like her hair's falling out, which can actually happen from nutrient deficiencies and also lack of sleep. And then so we have that happen. Gloria yells at everyone to get back to work, and we see this woman. Her name is Florence, and we see her meeting with a advocate, or she's with an advocate for immigrants who need help immigrating to the U.S. And we find in their vitamin pills meant to keep their women's energy up as they will work 15-hour days. And it's absolutely horrible that some of the stuff I've heard about sweatshops, it's absolutely horrible. And in this case, Florence is trying to immigrate into the U.S. and she's trying to bring her family over. And the parents had promised to help bring her parents over, but of course, they brought her into the U.S. and decided to make her work off what they had to pay to bring her into the US on a work visa. And so she doesn't have enough money to pay him off, essentially. And so that's where Nate's coming in. And she is in the US legally on work papers, but because of the language barrier and Florence's fear of filing a formal complaint against the Pans, her fear she's probably going to get sent back to China with nothing. Uh, she isn't doesn't want to make a formal complaint, and so that's where Nate steps in. So he's going to steal from, or he's going to get them the money to not only to bring Florence's parents into the U.S. and also help her, uh, like maintain her work status, or give her enough money so she can get like start her life here in the U.S. How like she wants. But Tara, she like well, I'm hearing like mute. I'm hearing like music. Why am I hearing music?
Hold on.
Is that you? So I just heard music in the background. It was like, where's that coming from? That sounds like sleep music. We're gonna get it fixed. Yeah, I don't got anything playing on my end. Don't worry, we're gonna figure it out. Hold on, just give Alex a second. Then we'll carry on. Okay, we we good now. We good.
I don't know what it was. I had to
Uh,
mute my TV outside in the living room.
okay. What was that noise? Anyway, so Tara ends up joining the client meeting late, which kind of pisses Nate off because Tara's like, "All right, so what's the plan?" And Nate's like, "We're gonna give her enough money so she can bring her parents into the U.S." And Tara's like, "That's not a very big payout." Nate's like, "Yeah, we don't do it for the money." And then like he asked her like why she's there. She's like, "Oh, like Sophie always do the client meetings, so I thought like I'd do it." And Nate's like, "Yeah, I did that with Sophie." So he's pissed, and then he just leaves, and Tara can't even drink her drink. Like she can only take one sip, and then she's got to go. So yeah, Nate's already kind of pissed off this episode, and that kind of gets worse throughout the episode. And we get the classic intro. And then we cut to the kids tattletaling on mom about dad not playing nice with auntie. Is essentially what's happening because Nate or Elliot Parker and Hardison are all on a video chat with Sophie, who's in Paris, Paris, and they're all complaining that Nate that well they're all saying how like they're not sure about Tara yet because her first like she conned him And of course, Sophie's trying to assure them, like, like, oh, like, it's okay. Like, I trust her. You need a grifter. And of course, it's like, because last time one of you grifted, you ended up kidnapped by Russians. And of course, Elliot has to call out Hardison and be like, yep, that was his brother right here. And Hardison's like, do we still got to keep bringing that up? And the answer to that Hardison is yes, they do still got to keep bringing that up. Because that is not the first time they will bring up the incident of Hardison getting kidnapped by Russians because he oversold the gun. In fact, I think they make reference to it in the Panamanian Monkeys job, Leverage Redemption season 1, episode 2, which we did talk about that episode. And the and what's funny is Sophie's like, Ellie, we didn't get along when we first met. Like we trusted you. Like Elliot, how long did it take for you to trust me? And then Elliot's face when Sophie was like, Elliot, you do trust me, do you? And I was like, that's not the point. Like he doesn't want to admit that. Like he still doesn't like. It's like complicated. Elliot's trust in Sophie because he's still butthurt over the whole Sophie portraying them in the season 1 finale. And Elliot ends up redirecting the conversation and be like, look, that's not the point, okay? Like, if Nate doesn't like this chick, then it's not gonna work. So it's like, get him on board, and then she started saying how he doesn't know like a good thing is in front of him, and when he does, he doesn't do anything about it, and he lets it walk out the door, and then Elliot says, "All the way to Europe," and yeah, and also, sorry, I skipped ahead in the conversation. Because earlier they always say, well, the Elliot, of course, starts out by saying, she is hot. Ours is like hot. And then Parker goes, hot. It was funny. Is the boys look at Parker, and Parker's like, what are you staring at me? And even Sophie's looking at Parker. And now my interpretation.
That literally that scene right there where she just blurts it out. That
like,
is, I've done this as an autistic person.
See, my reaction to that is to Sophie's face.
It's funny.
Oh yes, but it's also like, do we need to have a conversation, Parker? But that's because I'm a queer woman, and so I too think Tara is hot. But that's beside the point. Anyways, so Elliot calls Sophie out because she's the good thing that Nate let walk out the door. And they all know it, except no, Elliot's the only one so far who's actually brought it up. But he's still not saying the thing out loud. So yeah. Then Nate's gotta, of course, then Nate and Tara walk in and they're arguing. So they gotta quickly hang up. But Parker manages to squeeze out, I just miss you. Because she misses her mom. And I like how when they sit down, Parker throws the remote to Hardison. They all sit down. And so Nate does his classic Hardison run it. And this is where we meet our marks for this episode, Gloria and Russell Pan, who are self-made millionaires who make knockoffs of luxury brands. And Gloria has been she's been trying to get into the fashion scene for years. They've been submitting to Project One Way and not getting in. So Nate he's like, he asked like, so what do we like? So what do we sell her? And Tara's like, her dream. And then she kind of takes over the for being like, well, yeah, like con comes from confidence. So we need to like give her confidence, make her think she's the greatest designer in the world. And I don't think Nate likes that too much. That Tara kind of took over the briefing because Nate just says we need a Caprina, and he just walks away like Nate does. And Tara's just looking at everyone like, "What the fuck was that?"
It's like, does anyone know what that means?
What the fuck was that? And what's funny is Elliot just lays back on the couch, putting his arm
He's
up
like,
with this look on his face, like she is gonna learn soon enough how to speak Nate Ford. So yeah, so then we get.
But yeah, also I think partially that was kind of a bit of a like a newbie prank on Tara a little bit. He's just Nate's messing with her.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
they didn't tell Tara nothing.
Yep.
They didn't tell they did in the or letting her discover, which I think that's part.
It's a hazing ritual.
It's part hazing, I think, part revenge for her conning them.
Yep.
Instead of just outright saying, "Hey, Sophie sent me. I'm here to help." But instead, she decided to con him as like her sort of audition. Except they didn't like that. So I think that's part revenge, part hazing. But we get a montage of them preparing this con. So Tara becomes Caprina as they like Parker does like a photo shoot with her to get her posing. They change out Gloria's magazines. They even change her DVR to make it look like she recorded some like fashion show. And in the show, they're saying, "Oh, like Caprina's this like hot new designer." I know nothing about fashion, folks. I want to state that right off the bat. I know nothing about fashion, as you can see by the fact I'm wearing my Victoria's Secret pajamas. Okay, I know nothing about fashion, so I don't know what's good, what's not good. Out of the snow is that they like price gouge the shit out of everything. That's considered high fashion. Though I actually do know of a fashion designer, and he's the only fashion designer I really support because he's a 9-year-old boy named Max Alexander. And he is the only one I support, and that's because he is 9 years old and has a vision. And he actually like his clothes look really good. I will say that. And he literally does. I don't know if you've seen him on TikTok, Flex, but he literally like sews like he does everything by hand. He doesn't use like patterns or anything like that. It's all by hand and like on like mannequins.
Yeah, I think I've seen a couple of his videos, and dang, that boy is talented.
I know, and he's freaking 9. I'm like, how does a 9-year-old have more fashion sense than I do? Like in his videos, he's always like impeccably dressed too. And this like kid has like had freaking runways and like his own shows. And like the models, they treat him like an adult. It's, I think it's amazing. Okay, I think it's amazing. I'm not shitting on designers as a whole. I understand it takes a lot of time and effort, and I respect that. But there's no reason you need to pay $100,000 for a fucking purse. I'm sorry. Maybe that's controversial to say. I don't know. But you do not need to be paying $100,000 for a fucking purse, dress, pair of high heels. You don't need to do that.
True. I would rather spend like $50 on like
Okay,
a mirror
you can buy a
branded
decent
teepee.
pair of shoes for $30 at the Walmart, and it's gonna be the same quality as like the $500 pair of heels that you buy.
Yeah, I would
Like,
rather spend like 50 on a good pair of fucking heels than like $500. I could buy myself a new car for that much.
yeah, you could buy yourself a decent car with your, or put a down payment on a car or something.
True.
So, yeah, carrying on. So, yeah, so Tara, if you notice, kind of gets actually really into this whole designing a cover thing because as she's seeing like the DVR recording, she's saying the recording. And so she's kind of getting into it a bit. But you imagine she would because I think that's part of the fun for her is like building a new persona or a character, if you want to think about it that way. So now they got to infiltrate New England's fashion week. And Tara has on this like sexy black skinny dress. And I must say, Jerry Ryan has a nice set of legs, which does wonders for that dress. Moving on. Harrison's got this like neon orange shirt on and like a plaid scarf, which did Leverage predict the life of a showgirl?
Maybe.
In orange.
Okay. So I've had the song "Wood" stuck in my head all day. I fucking hate
That
you
might be
because
my
of it.
fault.
I
That might be
finally listened
That
to
might
it.
be my. That might be my.
I hate you.
I'm
made me go look up the
sorry.
lyrics. You made me go look up the damn lyrics first.
Because I wanted you to understand the context and why everyone's freaking out about that song.
And then I saw the clip of their podcast, and Travis made a fucking joke about it. And then, oh my god,
Mhm.
Jason's
Because Jason, being for
killed
the
me.
Swifties,
I
Jason
was laughing so
Wilson,
hard I
being
almost peed
for
myself.
the Swifties, was trying to get Travis to admit that Wood
What about him?
was about his little Travis. Well, I guess not so little. Taylor described it as a freaking redwood. God damn. Anyways, and Travis, sneaky little brother, freaking knew better and did not take the bait.
He's like, well, Japanese maple. I never laughed so hard in my entire life.
But you know, Kylie Kelsey is strutting around that house, listening to Wood being like, get it, Taylor.
Oh, no, she said.
Because we know those Kelsey
you know what she said? You know what she said? In her podcast?
I saw on her podcast.
I didn't need to know that about my brother.
But we'll go Taylor.
I know.
Like, that is peak sister-in-law behavior, and I freaking love it. Like, good on you, Kylie Kelsey.
Yeah,
good on you.
Yeah, I don't usually listen to Taylor. I listen to her older stuff, but there's a couple songs on there that are actually really good.
Yeah. My favorite's Father Figure.
I like that one. It's cute. I like the beat of it.
Yeah, and I like. I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna get that. Honestly, what I like about Father Figure is it's basically like Taylor's "fuck you" to not only Scooter Braun but also Scott Bruschetta. I probably will explain this more when we get to the studio job because I feel like this would be a more appropriate conversation as it deals with stealing of the music and stealing of the masters, which is what not only happened to Taylor, but also what happens in the studio job is they got to get Kaylin's music back for her.
Yeah, and then but my favorite one of Taylor's songs off of here, besides Wood, because that one just comically makes me giggle, is number 7, Actually Romantic. That one's actually really good.
Okay,
I've only listened to a handful of her songs off of that album because I don't really listen to Taylor all that much anymore. Just because I'm not really a big fan of her music now.
that's okay. I'm a big Swiftie, so I was like staying up till midnight listening to the Life of a Showgirl.
The last album I bought was Reputation. That was the last one that I bought.
I love Reputation. If you like Reputation, then you'll like Canceled.
Okay.
But because it has a similar like vibe,
kind of beat to it. Okay.
Yeah, but I like Father Figure because because the lyric I can make deals with the devil because my dick's bigger. I mean, come on, how is that not a mood? But also going into Actually Romantic. I have actually thought of that song as like Elliot and Tara's song because of a little moment they have in this episode. And like later on, they kind of like spat a bit, but also like there's like a little bit underlying flirting with it. And that's a little bit of the vibe of Actually Romantic, is like it's technically about like haters being overly obsessed with you. And Taylor's like poking fun at like the haters that like, or in Actually Romantic, it's like her poking fun at the haters who are like overly obsessed with her. At least my interpretation of that song. But it could also be perceived as like an enemies to lovers fight flirting type of situation.
Yep.
Which I am a bit of a sucker for that, and that is kind of Elliot and Tara, in my opinion. You could also argue Parker and Tara, but that's another conversation for the last episode because of a scene. But anyways, moving on. Show. And Elliot, when they do like the rundown of all the outfits, Elliot's got this like wine colored top on, leather pants, and this like white scarf. His hair's pulled back and he's got on guy liner. And Hardison immediately clocks in and is like, "You got on guy liner, man?" And Elliot's like, "Man, like this is fashion E." It's like, yeah, if you're Steven Seagal. You, by the way, yeah, I think Steven Seagal. I've seen some of Steven Seagal's work. He's honestly not that good of an actor, but he's known for his martial arts stuff. And
True.
But like, it's bad. His acting is kind of bad, and he's a piece of shit. At least if I heard correctly, he's a piece of shit. Anyways, but I know damn well those other pants are not comfortable on that boy's thighs. I know he rides horses, so he's probably used to a little leather, all right? But I know damn well that is not comfortable in that area.
Well, I mean, if it's worn correctly, it's comfortable, but otherwise, not so much.
I hope he got some boxers on. Anyways, and it was Tara's just laughing at this whole thing because she's like, I was going to say Steven Tyler, but Seagal works. And I love how she laughs.
Steven Tyler?
Because I love how she laughs because it's that like.
Listening to the audio commentary for that scene had me cackling.
How did I get to listen to the audio? What's the audio?
I never laughed so hard in my entire life because I think John Rogers said that line was actually technically ad-libbed a little bit. or it was tweaked a little bit, but the punchline to it.
I just like
first, there's a scene when there's a take that they did that Christian starts laughing in the middle of it, like
Uh,
like as they're basically dissing what he looks like. And then there was a one-liner that he clapped back with.
it was
That was so
funny
inappropriate.
Tara's laugh. It sounds like when a Southern woman says "bless your heart."
Yep.
It's
After
that,
being after
but a
being
laugh,
insulted, yeah, I get it.
and
But
that's
yeah,
what makes it
I mean
funny
the
to me.
look on her face, she's like, "Oh, honey, you don't know what you're doing."
Uh, No, but it was funny is that Elliot stares down Hardison as he like takes out his ponytail and the scarf, and it's like that was kind of hot. I ain't gonna lie, that was kind of hot. I'm a sucker for some good eye contact.
But I like how he does it so pissed. I want to know if he actually like slaps himself in the face with a scarf at one point when he
No, because
rips it off because it whips back kind of like this. I bet he probably slapped himself in the face with a scarf a couple times
yeah, bro. But
filming
what's
it. I mean, it's in Oklahoma. Of course, he's gonna do something stupid like that.
yeah, it is fucking up. But what's funny in my I don't know if you remember this, but in my fan fiction, the Headers Girl, for that episode, I had Kyra being like, "Did you put on my eyeliner? Like, why didn't you just fucking ask me to put on your eyeliner? I would have helped you." So she's like, "All right, come up to the bathroom so I can fix this." And she like fixes up, fixes up.
Yep, I remember that. That was funny. But yeah, I love the fact that this because like what's funny is the Spanish like dub of this for the Spanish translation, the title, it's so fucking accurate. It translates to the dub of the runway, which I love. But
Runway.
What's funny is that there's a couple of I don't know if you've ever watched the movie The Devil Wears Prada, right?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, there's a reference to that because Hardison's alias that he uses coming up is Nigel.
Yes.
It's after this because he's like looking through the rack trying to find something, but he says his alias, the name Nigel, and my ears went. Pardon.
Yeah, because this is like Nigel thing is Hardison's alias.
Yep, which I love, and I love the fact that there's also a couple of other little tidbits to like the Devil Wears Prada, like some of the clothing, like colors and stuff.
Yeah.
The reason why I bring that up is because I watched that when I was in my my home ec class because we were making clothes and stuff and like pillowcases and everything. So we watched The Devil Wears Prada. And when that came up, my ears went, I know that reference, I know that name. And I immediately started laughing.
We're gonna all right, moving on for this episode. So we see then Elliot and Tara are walking down some like a bunch of racks of clothing. And Tara's talking to Elliot, being like, "Oh, I want like a purple," because Tara has on an Italian accent as Caprina. And Elliot's like walking alongside her, and she pretends to drop her sketchbook. And Gloria picks it up, and then Gloria then shows Tara her designs, and Tara's all hyping her up, even though her designs look like shit. But so basically, they convince Gloria that she's hot shit and that Tara has a show coming up at New England Fashion Week. I nearly said New York Fashion Week. I'm talking New England Fashion Week, and she should go to the show. And so Nate then does his signature, "Let's go steal a fashion show." And Tara's again like, "What the fuck?"
Yep.
And so they got to go undercover at the fashion show. And Parker pretends. So Elliot or Nate goes on like the comm system, telling like the lead PA that like George Armani's having a freak out because his space is spelled wrong. So Carrie, like the lead PA, leaves, allowing Parker to come in, convince the admissions person that there's like an updated list of like people, and so they print it out, and Parker's able to slip in the tickets for Elliot and Tara so they can get actually into the show. And Elliot, of course, has to flirt, and he's wearing the fucking slutty glasses. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Slutty
Those glasses.
That is officially what they're not wire rim glasses anymore. They're slutty glasses.
Sorry, Christian, but it's true. They look
We say
hot.
this out of love. We say this out of love. We say this out of love.
They somehow make you look hotter. I don't know how.
Science can't explain it, okay? It's just a thing.
I mean, that would explain why I'm attracted to cowboys.
You know what? Valid. Sometimes when I get passengers that are coming, they're going to like Texas, I always make the joke, and like sometimes they're like cowboys. Like like I would go down to Texas, but see, I like me a cowboy. Except I don't need the drama of a cowboy in my life, and that usually gets them laughing. And
There was one time
I do
that
like cowboy, I don't need the drama of it.
I hate that I did this, but I couldn't freaking resist. So we had just went to the Flint Hills Rodeo and everything like that, and we were walking around, and so we're going this way to the concession stand to get some food and stuff because they're in between gigs and stuff. And coming this way with a bull rider, full getup, protective vest, and everything.
Ooh,
I made eye contact with him, and he's about my age. And I go,
you should read.
I froze.
You should read "Fearless" by Elsie Silvers, because the main character in that is a cowboy, and there's whipped cream involved.
But yeah, I literally.
You'll know why that's funny if you read the book.
I literally my brain shut off for a minute, and I go, "That was really badass, by the way." And he goes, "Thank you, ma'am." And I immediately giggled because it was
not the ma'am.
You know what the ma'am does to me.
It does the same thing to me too.
And I asked him like, "So where are you from?" And he goes, "Originally or right now?" And I go, "Originally." He goes, I think he said that he's from Alabama.
Oh, not the Bama boys.
Yeah, he had the Bama boys voice. And then the guy behind him starts laughing, and he goes, "Well, I'm from fucking Texas."
Wait, is this their beef between like the Texas Longhorns and like Alabama? I feel
yeah. I was torn. I'm like, I want both. Give me both. But yeah, both of them like literally looked at me, and one
Alex,
looked down at me.
Now you understand the why choose trope.
I wanted both of them, but they were a little bit older than me. One was 30 and one was 27.
You're 20.
I'm 26.
You're 26. That's fine.
I mean, I am dating almost 30-year-old, so.
Okay, that might be the problem. I'm kidding.
I mean,
we love you, Alex.
Cowboys are hot. Like, you can't blame me for that.
Cowboys are hot. I am sorry, Alex's boyfriend. So,
'Cause, I mean,
care.
come
Yeah, yeah.
on.
Ah, well, you know what they. Well, you know what Glenn Powell says about your fears. Come on. I know you want to do it, Lex.
I'm not gonna do it. You can't make me.
All right, we're moving on then. We're moving on before this gets any more sidetracked. So,
You don't face your
back
fears,
to
you
the
ride
episode.
them.
And you know what Big and Rich said, right?
save, save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Yes, yes, some. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this also applies to Elliot. I would ride that. Wait, who the fuck said that?
I'm sending that clip to your boyfriend.
Mm-mm. Don't you fucking dare.
So back to the episodes. So so to get Gloria sold, that there's like higher up people interested in this fashion show. Nate plays this investigator or investor. Sophie's sponsor, Jacques Bouvier. And I feel like this is the same like the same Alex Walker playing Sebastian as Nate playing Jacques Bouvier. As in both characters are very clearly straight people playing a character I would say is probably gay. And that amuses me to no end. Well, also because like the interaction with Tara, like just like also the way he acts, and Nate also has those like slutty little glasses on. And it's like, but anyway, so Hardison plays this like media personality, and Elliot is Tara's assistant. And Nate, what's funny is Nate pulls up like a text on his phone, and then he starts having like a freak out because his like his new young designer just got arrested. And what's funny is Harrison's like, drugs in the car, and Nate's like, no, hookers in the hotel. It's like, put some damn respect on hookers. I mean, they work hard, okay? They work hard. Anyways, so yeah, but the point is they're setting up that that Jock is looking for a new designer, and so they could make Gloria feel like the hero because she's saving the day with their designs. And they also go back to the sweatshop to like talk numbers and look at Gloria's designs. There's so many buckles. I mean, come on. Who needs that many buckles in a freaking outfit?
True.
Actually, now that I say that, there's probably someone out there who's thinking something else. So I'm going to move on. Show. We have our first kind of problem in this episode in that Tara and Nate accidentally both spout off different numbers. Nate says they need $50,000 to do the show, while Tara asks for $200,000. And of course, Nate is able to play it off, and Tara and Gloria gives him the money, which pisses Russell off. And Nate says and then Gloria promises to get Nate the other $150,000. And of course, they leave, and Nate's immediately on Tara, like, okay, what the fuck was that? And Tara's like, I just got you a bigger payout. That's what. And Nate's like, no, like, you don't, like, you followed my lead. And Tara's like, well, what if you didn't just speak in slogan and code and actually communicated? And then Nate gets all pissed off, and left. Because Nate's having trouble communicating. Shocker, I know. Mr. Control Issues is having trouble communicating. Who would have thunk it? So then we see Tara's back at HQ and she's bitching to Sophie about Nate. And Sophie's like, Nate's having trouble communicating. Shocker. And of course, Sophie's got to talk Tara down and remind her that she owes her. But Tara's like, okay, but if he pulls this crap again, I'm kicking his ass. Which, to be fair, it would be warranted. Tara kicking Nate's ass. So, yeah. And Tara then says, like, and this whole, like, I'm sexy because I'm broken thing only goes so far. And so he's like, I know, right? And then she's like, wait, what? What do you mean sexy? Of course, that's when Nate, Parker, and Hardison walk in. And so Tara's got to hang up on Sophie. And Elliot we see, is still at the fashion show. And Nate essentially puts Tara on timeout and even asks for her earbud because he claims he doesn't need her in the field and she's an unknown. So he puts her on timeout and takes her comm, which Tara is not happy with at all. And we find out that Nate got a phone call from Gloria and she says she has the rest of his money, but they don't hear her say where because the call cut off after she says, meet me at. And so Nate's like, okay, it's either going to be their house or the factory. So Nate has Elliot factory, and of course Elliot gets growly because he's trying to flirt with the model. I can hear you to your mic, Alex.
Sorry.
You're good. Now that Elliot's flirting with the model. And of course, Elliot's trying to play it off, being like, I think she's gonna come back to Fashion Week, okay? Of course, Aaron's looking at the model with this sultry look on his face, being like, I have a sense about these things.
Oh, that's funny.
And then Nate's like, ha, nice try. Put it away, get to the factory. He doesn't actually say put it away, but it's implied with the tone.
It's like, stop it. We're on a job. Focus.
Like, stop flirting with the model, put it away, and go to the factory. And then Elliot gets all growly, be like, damn it, Nate. Ruining his fun. So, yeah. And he has hard to look at the financials. Sure. Well, him and Parker go to the Pan's house and see if that's one of the locations. But as Parker and Nate go to the Pan's house, a car is driving away, smoke's coming out of the house goes boom. Of course, they got to find out who is either in the house or who escaped because there are cameras inside the house. I forgot to mention that during that montage when they're getting ready, we see Parker putting cameras in the Pan's house. The show. And Tara actually ends up showing up to the factory. And of course, I was like, what? And of course, Nate's all pissed off because, Tara recognizes the company, that is on a bake statement. And in our second twist of this episode, we find out that the partners that keep getting brought up is the triad.
Oh no.
So, and guess who was holding their money last? Elliot. So guess who the triad is going after?
Great.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens. Except, of course, Elliot's first instinct is like, okay, Tara, like he's trying to keep Tara behind her, and then she just starts like runs out, does this whole like routine, and then immediately proceeds to kick their asses. It was funny. She takes out the bunker and she looks at her and she's like, "You like me now, don't you?" And Ellie's just kind of looking. And I can't tell if he's like turned on or impressed or maybe a bit of both.
Probably both.
Probably a bit of both. And because we know Elliot likes women who can kick his ass. And
Nope,
we
I'm
get
not gonna say anything about that. Nope.
and then we get a synchronized hair flip, which I thought was funny.
I giggled.
Yeah.
And what's funny is in the blooper,
That they
his
just
hair,
like
his hair gets stuck to his lip.
yes.
It's not like going like the right way, and then and then the next shot, because he's in the office and he's like looking at the computer or whatever, he leans down and he's fixing his hair at the camera.
Yeah, then they start talking. He's like, I'm just fixing my hair.
It's like somebody get that boy some bobby pins or
Hair
something.
ties. Now, so Hardison manages to get a shot of the car going on a traffic cam to find out who's in the car, and he sees it's just Gloria. So they assume Russell has died in the explosion. Except when Nate pulls up, he's like, Russell runs the financials. Did we make sure Russell Pan is Russell Pan?" Howard is like, "Yeah, like he is Russell Pan." But then Nate, as he's going into the factory and leaves Parker as the getaway driver, Nate then asks, "Are we sure Russell Pan isn't anyone else?" And you see Hardison like move his head back, and it's like, "Ah, hell!" Because guess what? Hardison did not run a facial scan.
Oh no.
So Hardison finds out that Russell is actually Nicholas Chow, who is like a triad enforcer type, and is alive and is currently uh, looking at Tara and Elliot and threatening them. So that Nate comes in, he's trying to like defuse the situation. Of course, Chow is like, where's my money? Is like he calls his wife a cow, which is like, the fuck, dude. And he's pissed that Gloria took the money, and he wants that money back for his superiors. And so Nate, and of course Hardison's like putting the money in a bag, being like, all right, just like tell him in like 15 minutes I'll have his money. But it's like, no, we don't have the money. It got spent for her show. Like it got spent for Gloria's show. The Ghost Horse is like, Nate, did you not hear what I said? And so Nate then is like completely pivots the entire con without warning anybody. And it's like, I'll get you something better. I'll get you the designs for a famous designer, and your factory will work on them. Like that's good. That's worth more than like the $50,000. And Cho likes this. And then Tara ends up offering herself up as collateral so that Nate and Elliot don't go to the cops. And the important thing is Nate is Tara tells Nate like it's just 50, and they have 1 hour to do all this. And the 50 is important. So now they got to go back to Nate's apartment and reassess. And of course, they're all pissed off at Nate because, and especially Elliot, because like, well, Nate argues like, yeah, like if we had given him the money, their clients would have been left with nothing. And Nate's like, yeah, because it's about the money. Like it wasn't about. Elliot argues like it wasn't about the money, but it was a chance to run a con on the fly against the triads, and he put Tara's life in danger. And of course, Nate's like, oh, like it's fine, and like he doesn't want the women to be indebted to the triad. But then Parker hits the nail on the fucking head by saying, "You wouldn't have left Sophie." So now the plan is for Elliot and Parker to go steal Andre V's designs during Fashion Week. So they go in, uh, and they don't have proper IDs, or like they changed that you need IDs, and they don't have that, so they leave. And the only thing getting in are models and clothes. So Parker goes in pretending to be a model. Elliot hides in the clothes, and of course, while they're picking out like some Parker to wear, Elliot says Elliot reveals that he knows a bit of fashion because he dated a lot of models and a lot of private fashion shows, as the clothes usually ended up on the floor. And that made me want to roll up a newspaper and smack him.
I wanted to head slap him hard.
That is also a valid response. Because once again, Elliot's being a horn dog about being around a bunch of models, which why the fuck would they do that? I do not know. But
well, I mean, he is a guy, so
fair enough. Anyways, so Parker gets the designs, and then she accidentally gets forced on the runway, but she fakes a fall, allowing Elliot to do his escape, and then she escapes. So we see another twist in that Tara spills all the beans to Chow, dropping her accent, and it's kind of looking like Tara is selling Nate out. So Nate goes in with the designs and a wallet. He's got a flash drive. He goes in, gives Chow the Andre V designs, and all goes according to plan until the double cross is revealed and Nate drops the act. They set up the betrayal. Cops are coming. Tara leaves with the other goons, which I'm going to assume Elliot's outside, and him and Tara dealt with them for the cops. And then they arrest Nate, and they also arrest Chow, as Nate did an old switcheroo with the flash drives. Is not only as the flash drive he gave Nicholas had the Audrey V designs on it, and then he swapped it, gave the cops another flash drive that contained information on Chow's real identity. So they all get arrested, or Nate kind of gets arrested, but he pretends to be Interpol, which was the wallet was actually an Interpol badge. And they leave. Nate tells Hardison to burn the wallet because I'm assuming Interpol badge. you don't exactly want that easily accessible. So he tells her to burn it. And we also find out that it turns out Hardison not only put the Andre V designs on that flash drive, but he put a compressed file, which when sent, and he like programmed it in a way that it sent the actual designs, or it sent or like it viewed the Andre V designs, and then it sent Gloria's shitty designs. So that like temporarily shuts down the sweatshops because they're like, we can't use these. And yeah. So yeah. So all was fine. And that Tara was able to communicate to Nate that she was going to pull the cop scam because of the whole 5-0. Because earlier she specified the 5-0, which, as we know, is code for the cops. So that was her signal to Nate, like, okay, I'm going to run a cop scam. And Nate knew what to do too. So that's how.
And that was also a little bit of like a hint slash like homage to like Hawaii 5-0 a little bit, because that was kind of gave me the vibes of one of the episodes of the Hawaii 5-0, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, so and Gloria is actually working at one of her sweatshops because now she has no money and her husband's in jail. And we also so yeah, we see Nate and Tara then delivering the money to Florence, and we find out that the advocate is now the administrator of the factory, and she has improved conditions so the women actually like work in there. And so it's like an actual factory instead of a sweatshop, which I think honestly was the better. Like I can see why they did that, because like just shutting down the factory would have been almost worse, because then all these other women who are in the sweatshop have now no way of income. So at least now that the factory is still running, but it's safer for them, they can at least still make money.
Yeah.
To like, yeah, and I'm assuming now they don't have any debt with Chow since he's in jail. So they can actually start saving up their money to bring like family over to the US. They can and they have an immigration advocate, so they can like
apply for like
go apply for through citizenship, because right now, because they're on work visas,
and that could run out.
Well,
after
yeah,
so
but
many months.
they can use the work. I think you could use the work. Now, this is not my area of expertise, so I'm kind of talking out of my ass here when I say this, but I think they could like a work visa is like the kickoff, can be like a kickoff point.
Yeah.
For getting at least lawful permanent resident status. I could be wrong though. Do not quote on that. Any legal advice, please consult an actual lawyer.
But I mean, it opens the door for them to actually apply for citizenship later on. They can be like, "Yeah, I worked so many months in the U.S. I would like to apply for citizenship."
Yeah. I just don't want that to be taken as I'm actually giving legal advice. I'm not. I was saying I think that's how the process works. So that's like I can see why they went with like the conditions in the factory approving over just shutting down the factory.
Yeah.
There's more. I was explaining the creative choice, but also yeah. So Tara also gets her cut of the money, and she starts realizing like why they do what they do. Well, I think she's starting to get it. And so Nate says, that he's going to try for Sophie to get along with Tara. And Tara's like, for what it's worth, like, you are like one of the best. And Nate's like, I know. And then Tara gets like this kind of a smug look on her face. And it's like, but no one in the world is as good as you think you are. And the episode ends when Sophie, with Nate video chatting Sophie. They're talking about the job. And Sophie scolds him about leaving Tara behind. And she point blank asks him, like, would you have made the same call if it was me? And it's like, yeah, like, I would have. And then he relents and is like, no, I wouldn't have. So then Sophie scolds him more. But it's like, Nate's like, don't be telling me how to do my job. The job you talked me back into doing, the same job that you walked out on right on this very couch. And he turns away, and that's when Sophie hangs up on him. He's like, I'm sorry. But then it's too little too late as he's pissed off Sophie now.
Yep.
Because she hung up on him. And you can kind of see the moment where
he realized, oh crap, I went too far.
And then he just kind of sinks into the couch. But then he gets all pouty as if he wasn't the one acting like an asshole. And that is actually the end of the episode. So I do have some extra notes. And actually, continuing on with how this episode ends, I feel like this is the episode where Nate starts seeing that there's consequences to his actions. And I say that because he gets the reality check from not only Sophie, but from Tara and the other team, or like the other team members, that his shit isn't going to fly anymore. And there's going to be consequences for him pulling his shit. Like the team all scolding him for leaving Tara behind, and Sophie hanging up on him because he was being an ass and essentially blamed her for leaving. But carrying on to my other notes. I find it funny that like Tara's just kind of like confused this whole time. Though Nate kind of pissed me off this episode. And I did actually kind of like the twist in the twist in this episode, because I feel like it was like good twists. And I also enjoyed that Tara has a different grifter style to Sophie, and we see that in this episode. No, she uses her body a bit more. She embodies a character, but she crafts her character to tell us to sell the story, not necessarily the mark. And we also see how she's used to like focusing on the payday, because her first thought is get more payday. And that's where like that miscommunication happened, where Nate said 50,000, Tara said 200,000, and Nate had to pivot, be like, okay, like I'll take the 50,000 now, then we can do the 150,000 later. And we also see that Tara has a little bit of fight training, and we kind of find out in the girl's night out job that could be because she used to be ex FBI, because she mentions Quantico, and actually the next episode she also mentions Quantico and like a crypto analytics, uh, no, cryptography. That's the word I'm looking for. So Yeah, so I also kind of find out this is like the first episode where I think also the team is really starting to see how much Nate's getting out of control. Whereas before, when Nate was getting out of control, they had Sophie to rein him back in because she was the one who would always pull the Nate's getting out of control alarm. And Sophie's not there. She can't pull the alarm. And the team start realize, like, okay, maybe Nate's not as okay as we thought. But I also don't know how to fix this because Sophie's the only one who usually can fix him. And I think they're starting to figure that out. And also Elliot kind of is the one to step up this episode, be like, Nate, like you're getting out of control, because he is the one who scolds Nate, being like, yeah, this will help our client running a con on the triads on the fly with no plan and leaving Tara behind. And I think you also see that Nate's starting to pick up on it too, that maybe he's not in control as though, isn't he? He's starting to isolate people because he called, like, as soon as Sophie calls him out on his shit, he's starting to push her away because I think it's his way of avoiding the blame for his own actions. And he as soon as, because you see it on his face, as soon as Sophie hangs up and he sees Sophie hung up, he realizes he fucked up. And I think he's blaming himself. He's avoiding blaming himself by blaming Sophie for leaving. Because it's the way, especially the way he words it in this episode, where, like he tells Sophie, like I'm doing the job that you convinced me to do again, the same job that you walked out on. And I think, I'm convinced that if that conversation had continued, Nate would have said something along the lines of, it's your fault, because he doesn't want to blame himself, so he blames Sophie because she left. And I don't think Nate does it intentionally. Just, I think it's part of him being a recovering addict, is it's never the addict's fault, it's everyone around you's fault, which is a fairly common addict tendency. And I think Nate being sober, this is what's making him worse, because he's trying to curb his addiction by taking control over every aspect of everyone around him. And he's trying to control everything around him, which is, and I could see, like, Sophie left because she needed to, but Nate's making it his problem, or Nate's making it Sophie's fault, because he doesn't have, Sophie was always the one who kept him in check, and now that Sophie's not there to keep him in check, he's losing control, because the other team, they will let him, they don't know how to put him in check, because that was always Sophie's job. And this is the episode, I think, that begins the turning point of that downward spiral that Nate is on. And I honestly don't think we ever do see Nate fixing that with Sophie. And to be honest, I don't think he ever does. Well, I think he might have done it later, but like he didn't like. I think Nate might have tried to call her back up, but I don't think she would have answered.
Probably because she's mad at him for
Yeah,
obvious
she's
reasons.
yeah, and I too would be pissed at Nate if I was Sophie. Heck, I was pissed at Nate watching this episode because, like, not only did you like you're isolating your new team member because she's not the woman you're in love with, who you pushed away. You pivoted a con without warning anybody because you wanted to go after the higher mark. You put your teammate in danger and you yelled at the woman you love. Like, it's no wonder like he's starting to lose control. And we see that all accumulate in the next episode. So those were all kind of my notes, actually. Um, I would continue talking about Nate's downward spiral, but I feel like it's better to continue the conversation in the next episode, as that's where it's more prevalent. And we kind of will keep bringing it up as the season goes along. But yeah, those are kind of all my thoughts on this episode. Alex, did you have any other thoughts
Nope.
or anything you want to add?
I kind of like how this. I like that it was kind of open ended toward the ending because later on Nate's gonna the way that he's been acting, it's gonna come back to bite him in the butt, and it's gonna be awesome when it does.
Yeah, if you think about so like season 1 is about like revenge. You could argue that season 2 is about, I don't want to necessarily say consequences, but it's about family.
True.
But also it's about what happens when that family gets shaken up. And we're definitely seeing that prevalent in this episode. And we'll continue to see that until we get to the season 2 finale. So I don't have any more notes. Anything else you want to add before I outro this thing?
No.
All right. So to end off this episode, I want to thank our sponsor, Barry Pines. You can listen to Perry Pines in Bigfoot Country 102.1 WIFT at lovemybigfoot.com or the Love My Bigfoot app from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the weekdays. I'd like to thank our sponsor, notgo.org. And if you want to support the podcast, you can go on Ko-Fi or you can buy us a coffee on Ko-Fi at Films and Fandoms. Link in the chat. We greatly appreciate it. We also have a Discord. That's our invite code. This is our Instagram, FN Fandoms with Kaylee and Alex. Our Twitter, FN Fandoms. Our Facebook, Films and Fandoms. This is my website, kayleensatelactin.com. You can follow me on Twitter at MissMovieFan_67 and on TikTok at MovieFan_67. You can follow Alex on Instagram at Alex_the_Alleycat. On Twitter at Alex the Alleycat. And on TikTok at Alex the Alleycat. And you could go check out what our friends at Mob Filmworks are doing on Facebook. They got some exciting projects coming up. And they could use some support. So we'll be back next Tuesday with the new episode. And next episode we're going to be talking season 2, episode 11, the bottle job. So that's going to be a very cool episode. I think it's going to be a very interesting episode to talk about, as it's honestly, I think it's one of the more clever episodes of Leverage, especially for season 2. I think it's one of the more clever ones. And we'll continue seeing this theme of Nate's downward spiral. So, yeah. Any last words, Alex?
No.
All right. So, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye, everyone.